Today on Week in Review, an all-candidates forum was recently held in Kitimat. An event will be held in Terrace to help promote fire safety, and the Terrace RCMP are attempting to find a missing man. Hello, I'm Cail Maslin, and thank you for joining us here on Week in Review, where we cover all of the news here in the Northwest from this past week. Earlier this week, a few of the candidates looking to represent the Skeena-Bulkley Valley in Parliament got the chance to answer some questions and promote themselves to the residents living in the Kitimat area. Yesterday evening saw several of the candidates running in the Northwest for the federal election attended All Candidates Forum in Kitimat at the Mount Elizabeth Theater. Incumbent NDP Skeena-Bulkley Valley MP Taylor Backrack, Conservative Party candidate Ellis Ross, and Christian Heritage Party Representative Rod Taylor were all there, but the candidates representing the Liberals and the Greens, Inderpaul Dillon and Adana Young, were not there. During the forum, major topics discussed included the likes of immigration, businesses searching for new staff members, support for secondary industries in Kitimat, industrial development and energy projects in the Kitimat area, and potentially the most pressing issue for everyone in Canada right now, the cost of living crisis.
The things that I mentioned, dental care and pharmacare, those make a real material difference for people who are struggling. But there's more that we need to do. You know, in the years following the pandemic, when we saw inflation skyrocket for a whole bunch of different reasons, we saw people struggling, especially low-income people struggling, and working people too. And yet we saw the biggest corporations in Canada making record profits. We saw their profit margins increase, whether that's oil and gas companies, whether that's grocery chains, whether that's the banks. And so how can you have this cost of living crisis when people are struggling, but not everyone? Some people are doing very, very well. And so, you know, we think that that needs to be addressed.
Sorry to tell you, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. The carbon tax is a temporary thing, unless it gets wiped out in legislation. But the carbon tax affects so much. From the farmer that gets carbon taxed, he passes it on to the trucker. The trucker then actually buys the fuel and gets carbon taxed and passes it on to the grocer. And then the grocer actually has to pass that on to you. So it's really important that you hold your government accountable and your politicians to do what they say and say what they mean. The Liberals, on the other hand, have also introduced through Carney that they're going to have to add more taxes to you flying. Yeah. They just said that today.
Well, I agree with Ellis that the carbon taxes are the single biggest cause of inflation. They've been sold to us as something to do about the environment, but it's been a big lie all these years because everything you buy, everything you eat, everything you wear, and even if you're building a house, your housing supplies, all are transported by truck. They pay the carbon taxes, Ellis has pointed out. And the other major factor is the reckless printing of money, which is basically overspending by the socialist government we've had, the Liberals and the NDP coalition. It's directly their fault that our inflation has gone through the roof.
A pair of these forums will be happening again very soon, as one in Houston will take place tonight at the Houston Community Hall at 7 p.m., and another one will occur tomorrow in Burns Lake at the Heritage Church at 6 p.m. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cail Maslin. In their latest weekly report that covered most of the earlier part of April, the Kitimat RCMP talked about what cases they encountered during that time frame. One of the aforementioned cases saw the police get word from a local resident that their credit card had seemingly been compromised because some money had been withdrawn from it and then was possibly put into a crypto account. Despite reports to the victim's bank and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, there hasn't been anyone that was able to figure out who was responsible for this fraud. The Kitimat RCMP are once again using this kind of case to remind local residents to regularly check out their financial accounts, and if they notice anything wrong or suspicious, they should notify their financial institution. Coming up at the end of this month, an event is set to be held that will help residents in the Terrace area learn how to better protect themselves and their homes from wildfires. On April 30th at the Knox United Church, an event being referred to as Fire Smart Begins at Home will begin at 7 p.m. and last until 8 p.m., with its main purpose being for both Terrace's Fire Chief, Joel Broson, and Terrace's Fire Smart Coordinator, Kim Service, to inform residents on how to best avoid starting fires in or near their homes. Coffee, snacks, and tea will be provided, and everyone who can attend the event is welcome to join, with the chance to draw to possibly win some prizes being available as well. Up next is a look at the split between CFTK-TV and its longtime radio partners. Welcome back. Vista Radio has recently taken control of many radio stations here in BC that were once owned by Bell Media, including the two stations right here in Terrace that were formerly known as Bounce Radio and Pure Country. We will now see what Vista's radio rebranding looks like and what it means for us here at CFTK-TV.
Back in February, Vista Radio received official public approval from the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission to buy 21 radio stations and 27 regional repeater transmitters from Bell Media. But despite that CRTC public approval being only fairly recent, this deal has been in the making for some time now, and its effects on the stations, some of which are located in the Northwest, are just starting to emerge.
This all came about a year ago, where they purchased this division's radio stations from Bell Media, and we launched on Monday, and it's just been a great week so far. We have the River, which now goes throughout the region. We have Summit Radio for Terrace and Kitimat, and we have Coast FM in Prince Rupert, and really invested in the communities, really local, just a really exciting time for us to be with the Vista Broadcast Group.
All of the on-air radio personalities in the North that people have been used to hearing for a while now are all staying put in their positions as well. But while the radio stations are now under Vista's control, Bell Media will retain ownership of CFTK-TV, and that has led to a new situation for the properties as they begin their new lives being controlled by different companies, but without leaving the operating area that they've been a part of for many years.
We've been sold multiple times since 1962, and we've always been sold as a package, all three stations, the two radio properties, and TV. So this is the first time that we've actually parted ways, which is new. It's uncharted territory that we've never gone through. So we're working through it, but it's business as usual. We are all in the same building. We're sharing the building. We have an agreement with Vista Radio, with Bell. So nothing really is changing on our end. There'll be changes on the radio side that you'll see and hear, but on the TV side, it's going to continue on as it has in the past.
Like the radio stations, CFTK-TV's programming and staff is also set to continue on as it has been, which seems in line with the common saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cail Maslin.
The November search for missing person Aiden Waddle that was forced to end due to the change in the weather at the time resumed this past Monday. Family, locals, and RCMP looking for Aiden resumed the search at Gitniau Lake, and his family has since reported that Monday's search did find and recover Aiden. His family will now be able to lay him to rest. Family took to social media to thank everyone who reached out and assisted in the search. The Terrace RCMP are currently trying to find another middle-aged man that went missing a few months ago. The man that is being looked for is named James Robinson, and he was last seen by his family in October of last year, although it was not specified exactly where he was last seen, nor what he was wearing at that time. Robinson's description is listed online as being that of a 58-year-old Indigenous man that weighs about 190 pounds, comes in at around 6 feet in height, and also has brown/gray hair and hazel eyes. Anyone who has useful information that could lead to the discovery of Robinson's location is asked to give a call to the Terrace RCMP at 250-638-7400 or BC Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. The Prince Rupert RCMP recently sent out a notification that let the public know that they are currently seeking out a woman who is wanted for some theft-based crimes. The wanted woman's full name is Mildred Mary Wilson, and she is being sought out by the police due to her committing 2 counts of theft under $5,000. Wilson's description has been listed online as being that of a 56-year-old Indigenous woman that has a fair complexion, long brown hair, brown eyes, while also being 5'3" and weighing about 150 pounds. Anyone who happens to notice her somewhere or potentially figure out where she might be located is asked to not approach her and then give a call to the Prince Rupert RCMP at 250-627-0700. After the break, the demolition of the Mills Memorial Hospital is making major progress. Welcome back. The demolition of the Mills Memorial Hospital has now advanced significantly. Anyone passing by will notice the extensive debris and rubble where the hospital once sat. The demolition is being conducted by PCL Construction. The company is using watering methods to keep the dust down, and Northern Health is monitoring vibration to make sure that it stays within acceptable levels. Although the Skeena Valley seniors continue to publicly lament the destruction of the hospital, Northern Health ultimately deemed the structure not to be suitable for any further use. However, equipment and items were repurposed whenever possible. Demolition began about a month ago, and the full process is expected to take roughly 2 to 3 months. Following demolition, the area will be converted for parking to ensure that there is enough parking on site for patients, staff, and visitors at the new hospital. The Prince Rupert Port Authority recently was able to give a gift to the District of Port Edward that should help them keep their community a bit safer. The Port Authority gave the district's volunteer fire department a brand new fire truck that is now in service to help their local community as well as its surrounding area. The district partnered up with the PRPA's Community Investment Fund to get this truck bought, with the fund providing about $155,000 to cover part of the truck's $500,000 total cost. The previous truck that was used by the volunteer fire department had been in service for about 3 decades as it was getting to the end of its proverbial rope. Now with the new truck, the local firefighters will be able to respond to fires better now. The city of Terrace is set to officially christen a brand new deputy fire chief within the first few days of the next month. Brad Owens, coming over from the Kitimat Fire Department, is moving into Terrace's deputy fire chief position after the position's previous holder, Joel Broson, was promoted to head fire chief back in December of last year. Owens is set to begin in his new position on May 5th, and he is set to help the city's fire department strengthen its operational readiness and work with the other firefighters to make sure that their standard of high performance continues to be met. Owens already has some familiarity with Terrace's firefighters since he had collaborated with them during his time as a member of the Kitimat Fire Department. Back in the later part of March, the Terrace RCMP got word of a hit-and-run case that had just happened not too long ago in a parking lot located on 4761 Lake Alice Avenue. The case in question saw a white cube-shaped van run into another vehicle that was luckily unoccupied when the collision occurred, but the van did not stick around after the incident. Police were able to get some pictures of both the van as well as its driver on camera, and if you happen to have some information that could lead to the discovery of the driver, you are asked to call the Terrace RCMP at 250-638-7400, or if you're looking to remain anonymous, you can instead call BC Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Thanks to a $10,800 contribution from the Terrace Old Age Pensioners Association, the Terrace View Lodge was recently able to purchase a complete gantry ceiling lift and motor system. This new lift is set to be a big boost to the lives of the residents of the lodge by allowing patients that have some kind of physical detriment to remain in their rooms. The contribution of those funds was announced by members of the Dr. R.E.M. Lee Hospital Foundation at the latest Happy Gang members meeting. Still to come, it's been almost a decade since the toxic drugs health emergency was declared. Welcome back. Recent high-profile crimes were front and center in the BC legislature as the opposition also hammered the NDP over its record on crime. CTV's Rob Buffum has more.
Crime, including an accused wanted for 10 previous offenses, lighting police officers on fire in the downtown east side, dominated question period.
Shocked to see the video of 2 Vancouver police officers set on fire last week.
Home invasions like a brazen attack last month in Surrey caught on camera, and last week's major fentanyl superlab drug bust also front and center, fueling calls for the province to push Ottawa for tougher bail laws.
How did this NDP government allow BC to become a safe haven for industrial-scale fentanyl production where drug peddling criminals operate with virtual impunity?
Attorney General Sharma points to BC's advocacy on bail reform and says she's pushing for tougher laws from whoever forms the next federal government.
I'll be looking at every example in BC where we think the bail system failed and continue to advocate for the changes that we know we need.
The BC Conservatives also seeking more support for police, accusing the NDP of enabling the violence through failed mental health and addictions policies and support for drug advocacy groups including Dolph.
When the people risking their lives to protect us are under attack and this premier is working against them.
The VPD has flooded the downtown east side with officers and hired more than 200 since 2022. The premier condemning an increase in violence, but also pointing to increased resources being allocated.
We've worked closely with the City of Vancouver to support additional enforcement in the downtown east side to address those issues. We have larger systemic work to do with them.
Still, the startling nature of the latest crimes caught on camera, reigniting calls for tougher bail laws and more support for frontline officers.
BC recently marked a grim anniversary. It's been just a little over 9 years since the province declared a public health emergency due to the toxic drug crisis. And since then, more than 16,000 lives have been lost. CTV's Ben Milger has more from the downtown east side, where advocates rallied for more harm reduction initiatives.
On the front lines of the toxic drug crisis, people gather in Victory Square, mourning the lives lost and calling for change.
He knew that everyone deserved dignity and compassion and respect.
At the age of 60, Jamie Richardson died from toxic drugs just last month.
I'm here today to honor him and to stand with the community about the epidemic that is going on with the toxic drug crisis, stealing our relatives, our loved ones, our communities away from us.
9 years to the day since the province declared the toxic drug crisis a public health emergency, it has claimed more than 16,000 lives. People like Jerry, who left behind a wife of 24 years.
There's so much stuff in the drugs nowadays, right? And it happens so fast.
Indigenous people are nearly 7 times more likely to die from toxic drugs than non-Indigenous people. The chief medical officer of the First Nations Health Authority wants people to remember each person who dies is more than a statistic.
The numbers do not tell the full story of the lives lost or the impact to the families, friends, communities, and nations in the aftermath of these deaths.
She is calling for more supervised consumption sites and better access to safer supply.
It's important to ensure that people stay alive. People who use drugs have access to harm reduction services, and most importantly, that they have a point of connection so that they get the supports that they need.
9 years into the declared emergency, so many continue to mourn lost loved ones.
Rest in peace to my dad. He was the best, and he did not deserve to die due to toxic drugs.
Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
Now, those traveling south may have noticed that it's incredibly costly to find a room in Vancouver currently. And although the solution may be to build more of them, some hotel staff are questioning why hotels should take precedent over housing. Here's CTV's Isabella Zavarisi.
It's described as a tipping point. Vancouver is in desperate need of more hotels. The city has as many hotel rooms now as it did in 2002.
We leave a lot on the table if we aren't having to turn away business because either we don't have enough rooms or they're too expensive.
The threat of losing billions in economic activity is why City Council adopted a new policy Tuesday. The goal is to build 10,000 hotel rooms by 2050.
If realized, new hotels could deliver more than 5,400 direct hospitality jobs, up to 8,000 indirect jobs, and more than $200 million in annual tax revenue.
The policy will encourage more hotels in the central business district and near transit hubs. Staff say demand is there, but creating supply is challenging.
In particular, securing financing for new projects is difficult in the current environment.
On Monday evening, one hotel union protested the plan.
Our members, the number one issue, like all workers in Vancouver, cannot afford to live here. And we are here to tell City Council that we don't want any more hotels to be built until our members can live in the city.
Staff acknowledge there is a labor shortage. When asked how building hotels may impact the housing crisis,
By creating more hotel supply, we take pressure off of illegal short-term rentals, right? Or we undercut the demand for illegal short-term rentals, which helps to open up more rental housing.
there are at least 1,300 hotel rooms currently in the pipeline. But with major events, including FIFA, just around the corner, the city will have to wait and see whether this new approach makes a difference. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
While spring sunshine is being enjoyed in Metro Vancouver, the mountains are still icy and treacherous. That's the warning coming from North Shore Search and Rescue as they were responding to several major accidents over the previous weekend involving people suffering serious injuries. CTV's Shannon Patterson reports.
This patient, being transferred to paramedics by North Shore Rescue, is one of 3 backcountry enthusiasts who suffered injuries over the weekend sliding down steep, icy slopes.
The only thing that's going to stop you, you're either going to go all the way down until the slope levels out, or you're going to hit something like a tree. And all three individuals hit trees.
While this victim was hoisted up into a helicopter, the other 2 had to be long-lined off the mountain. The injuries have North Shore Rescue reminding backcountry users that elevation changes everything.
Down in the valley, the plants are out, the trees are out, the bears are wandering around, and it's gorgeous, beautiful. Up in the mountains, certainly on the north side of the mountains, in the shaded areas, it's still full winter.
We've got a snowpack that hasn't melted away yet. It's early stages of spring, which means spring down here, winter up there. So as you gain elevation and you plan on going up there for a little hike, don't forget you're still prepping like it's winter.
That means hiking boots and a walking stick won't cut it.
If you're going into the backcountry at the moment, at the very minimum, you need micro spikes and an ice axe.
You head out for an early hike, you can be hitting icy conditions, slippery conditions, and spring-like conditions that change throughout the day, depending on the aspect that you're playing on, recreating on.
Another tip, wear bright clothing in case rescuers need to find you.
We really want you to think of the what if. What if I break my arm, ankle, leg, smash into a tree? Do I have the abilities, skills to self-rescue? Am I capable of that? Have I even practiced that? Do I even know what that means?
A little preparation goes a long way into ensuring you don't leave the mountain on a stretcher. Shannon Patterson, CTV News, North Vancouver.
That wraps up this week's edition of Week in Review. Make sure to tune in to our regular newscast on Monday at 5, 6, 6:30, and 11 o'clock here on CFTK-TV. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a good weekend.